Jamuna tera vanakari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jai Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav Radhe, Jai Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav Radhe, Jai Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar Radhe, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Gaur Pimanandi, Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Kri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satya, Sri Shimad His Divine Grace, Srila Bhai Charanarvini Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Skandi Biti, Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinama Sankirtan ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Pimanande, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to Shri Guru, to Shri Gauranga, all that is to Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanandana Shalakaya Taksurinmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam Scha Hai Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badrishu Dityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nistreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasayanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vasalam pangom langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from the 5th chapter of the first canto, chapter which is entitled Narada Muni's or Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. And today's text is 10, huh? Yes, text number 10. Na yad vashash chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tad vayasam tirtham ushanti manasa na yatra hamsa niramanti ushikshayah nayad vasaschitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshayah nayada vachas chitrapadam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshayah nayad vachas chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshayah nayadvachas chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayantra shikshayah nayad vachas chitrapadam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragnita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshayah nayad vachas chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshayah not yet that vachaha vocabulary chitrapadam decorative harehe of the Lord yashaha glories jagat universe, Pavitram, sanctified, Pragrinita, described, Karhichit, hardly, Tat, that, Vayasam, crows, Tirtham, place of pilgrimage, Ushanti, think, Manasaha, saintly persons, Na, not, Yatra, where, Hamsaha, all perfect beings, Niramanti, take pleasure, Ushikshayaha, those who reside in the transcendental abode. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki. Those words describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole world, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Kindly repeat after me. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Purport. Crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. The fruitive workers or passionate men are compared to the crows, whereas the all-perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in the place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women and places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty. Look around. Where there are transparent reservoirs of water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers. We'll be having those in that corner. Flowers with lotus flowers in variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. If you go even now to Cambodia, might be going there soon. Throughout the country, one can see many ponds full of lotuses. The whole country is like, yeah. Mostly in Cambodia up to now, mostly villages. Not so many big cities. Maybe now it's beginning, but so one can still appreciate between the cities the natural beauty of nature. And to continue the purport, nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. Similarly, there are different kinds of literature for different types of men of different mentality. Mostly the market literatures which attract men of the crow's categories are literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matters described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yet with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. Spiritual advanced men who are compared to the swans do not take pleasure in such dead literatures, which are which are sources of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. Dead literatures for the spiritually dead. These literatures in the modes of passion and ignorance are distributed under different labels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human being. And thus the swan-like spiritually advanced men have nothing to do with such spiritually advanced men are called also manasa, because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. This completely forbids fruitive activities for gross bodily sense gratification, sense satisfaction, or subtle speculation of the material egoistic mind. Social literary men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Sridhar, this is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramahamsas who have grasped the essence of human activities. Translation again, those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows, since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Very nice comparison between crows and swans. Swans are attracted to fresh waters, clear, clean ponds or lakes, and they never, naturally, they never mix with the crows. As Prabhupada mentions here, birds of the same feather fly together. So, therefore, the importance of these transcendental literatures, such as Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and actually our acharyas have given us immense literatures. Just one of our very prominent acharyas, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it is said, has written over 100 books, some of which are especially important, like Jaiva Dharma, like Dasamula Tattva. It is, Prabhupada explains, actually the responsibility or the business of such personalities, acharyas, to actually put into writing such transcendental subject matters that can divert the minds of persons who are otherwise addicted to mundane subject matters. There used to be a time, not that long ago actually, just a few hundred years ago, which in the context of Kali Yuga is not a very long time, where there were no literatures. The only literatures that were available were those literatures in connection with God. For example, in Europe, if we go back before the French Revolution, actually practically the only literate people were those who were like from Brahminical background, those who had gone to get an education. It's interesting how in Christianity, education was especially for people to become priests. It's very similar to Vedic culture. Education is for the Brahmanas. Academics, Prabhupada makes this nice point and gives this very clear explanation in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, how academic education, which is meant to study literature, philosophy, is especially for those who are more intellectual, those who are more towards, more inclined to the mode of goodness. And therefore, all literatures in those days, and all, for example, dramas, all theatrical performances were in connection with different leelas or activities of the Lord. Yeah. And now, of course, with the advent of modern printing press, etc., practically anyone, and that is what is taking place, can write books, and most of those literatures is what fills up, this is what is being sold around the world. So just like discussions, those who are committed devotees, those who are actually serious in practicing spiritual life, they they avoid what is termed as gramya kata, subject matters which are not related actually to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Subject matters that actually ultimately lead us towards mundane subject matters, which are basically on the bodily platform. So that is what is being explained here. And this is in reference, of course, to Narada Muni's assessment and diagnosis. The word diagnosis was used in the previous report. Narada Muni diagnosed the reason why Srila Vyasadeva was feeling unsatisfied, despondent. And actually that's our situation. That's the situation of the vast majority of people in the material world. Because we are, our mind, our thoughts, our activities are in connection simply with this temporary material body, and therefore can never be satisfied no matter how much amount of sense gratification one may engage in. Just like an alcoholic, someone who is addicted to drinking, he will drink. Well, some people actually drink themselves to death. Practically, they overdose. Same thing with drugs. Also, people take drugs to try and experience higher consciousness, or to try and forget about the miseries and problems of the material world. These are not at all solutions. Rather, they they further complicate and actually increase the suffering of such living entities. The remedy, which is being pointed out here by Narada Muni, is that one needs to re-establish, reconnect one's natural and eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, because that is where the real satisfaction can be found. Therefore, Prabhupada, he would explain how this process of bhakti is the which actually brings tangible satisfaction and happiness, is the birthright. Very nice expression, actually. It is the birthright of all living entities, because it is just like someone who is born in some particular country. Because of being born in that country, he naturally has different privileges that others don't. He can vote, he can buy land, and many other privileges are given. So similarly, the jiva, living entity, by nature is meant to be anandamaya, full of happiness and satisfaction, which is only possible on the spiritual or transcendental platform. So therefore, such literatures, actually, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had devised a very nice way of presenting these subject matters. Many years ago, when he was in Calcutta, he had organized some what was it, like exhibits, just like people like to see things that are visual and that are story-like. And he was actually very nominal, but he was charging something so that people could come. Something similar to what we are planning to do here, actually, in Mayapur, with the TOVP, Temple of Vedic Planetarium. We'll be having exhibits because philosophy is not the for most people, philosophy is not something that one can give his mind or attention to for a long time. So exhibits, drama, stories. We need to revive the traditional ways. Who was making the point? Yeah. What is it? Folklore. You know what is folklore?
Folklore.
Yeah. What is folklore?
Like a national dramas, literature. Like
Yeah, folklore. They are either stories or dramas or enactment that glorify very often things of a particular country, or in our case, let's say in the context of Vedic culture, this was a point actually that Dr. Srinivas was making, you might recall, in the class. He was telling how Vedic knowledge was, even now in some, maybe less nowadays because television has kind of replaced all of that, but when there was no television and radio, people would be the television and radio, isn't it? There, even now, actually, you go to some places in Bengal, and you have these very articulate people who can like tell stories. Actually, in Indonesia, they have what is called shadow puppet, and it's like practically miraculous. You can have shadow puppet means there's different ways of present. There's shadow puppet is actually behind the screen.
in our villages, it happens, Mara.
Yeah. Then they have different puppets like, and then they have string.
From the actually they project light onto the screen, and from the back of the screen
Somebody is there. Yeah. So in Indonesia, I went actually. I attended one of those sessions. Very interesting actually. They start like in the evening. They go all night. And the person who is so expert, he will be telling different stories, and he will be mimicking. He will be able to like up to 30 or 40 different languages or tones. Women's voice, child's voice, serious voice, whatever. And
it is there in our villages also, Mara,
still,
traditionally.
Yeah.
And it is in Telugu language. It is called Tolu Bommalata. Tolu means
Alone, one.
Leather.
Leather.
Bomma means the whatever Rama or Ravana, whatever.
Okay,
that
story.
depiction.
Yeah.
Do. Then Ata means play.
Play.
Play of those dolls.
Yeah.
From behind. So it is very traditional in our village.
Is it, huh? Okay, interesting. So, so this was, I mean, in all the way to places like Indonesia, Cambodia also.
But they do very nicely.
Yeah. No, people, whether they have that in Kazakhstan?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Actually, before television and radio, this was standards. I'm sure in so many different countries to just.
It is for the whole village, Maharaj. The show they will announce, and whole village will come after the dinner. 9 o'clock they sit. Up to 12 or 1 o'clock it will go on.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah, they have actually. We invited one such group in Hibri some years ago, and they go on all night actually. Yeah, and they're very expert. They put up, makeup and this and that, and they. It's kind of like their profession practically. And that is how actually we hear. Well, maybe when you were young, um, it was especially elderly people who would tell all kinds of stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana. Yeah. So these things. The main point here is that subject matters that are disconnected with Krishna, disconnected with the values of life, the purpose of life. They are literatures or subject matters that lead us simply into material, ordinary activities on the bodily platform. That is totally uh, rejected and of no interest for those who are having some understanding and desire to actually become advanced in transcendental subject matters. So that is why uh, the the printing and distribution of these literatures is so important. And actually, in the last 1 year or so, in some of the villages in Telangana, because that is meant to be one of the very important ongoing activities. It's ongoing, but not as much as it could or should be. Um, from Kamyavan, where Sridham Prabhu is located, they have actually a lot of programs and seminars there. And we conducted some village programs donating actually to the village a set of Bhagavatam and encouraging them to start reading, because most people are not so aware of the Bhagavatam. And in some villages, actually, every day they sit and, group of village people, they come in here because it's like something new, you know. So this this is part of what our acharyas and Srila Prabhupada wanted us to reestablish that type of activity, and otherwise, what's happening, isn't it? What's happening when such activities in terms of these transcendental literatures are not promoted or not being read or discussed, people are totally uh, following what is, such major propaganda is there for all kinds of other literatures, and um, uh, all types of mundane subjects. And what's happening is that people, because they're not properly uh, directed, are engaged in all kinds of activities, which end up in sinful activity actually, because people are not happy, not satisfied, so they take to all kinds of uh, we could say illicit activities to try and get some kind of pleasure or satisfaction. So this point is very important. Um, I'll just read again the text and see. Oh, okay. The next verse is connected with this one actually, but I think time is. Text number 10, I'll read. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can satisfy the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows, Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Yeah. And there's a very nice purport coming up tomorrow that further elaborates on this, and we'll save that for tomorrow. Any thoughts, comments, questions? In Orissa, they used to have what is called, if I remember correctly, Bhagavat Tungi. I think it's still there. It's like in every village, there's a special place where traditionally somebody who knew about Bhagavatam, he would come there in the evenings and he would recite the Bhagavatam. Again, this was before, television, radio, television have totally, totally destroyed this culture. And I don't know, if someone was to make a little survey of, what percentage of the content which is presented on television or radio is connected with spirituality, I think the percentage would be very...
On mainstream, it is zero, Maharaj.
Zero.
There are specific channels called Bhakti TV, something like that. There are very few channels which promote on religiosity. They promote, not the level of bhakti.
Yes.
Some spiritual,
pious kind of whatever.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. So therefore, every day people are bombarded by such garbage literatures, and it is not surprising that people are therefore having such kind of mentality. Okay, we can close here for now. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.